Precure is one of the most notable, entertaining, lovely, financially successful, all-encompassing colossal behemoths of a magical girl franchise of the 21st century. And yet, it is the worst series to recommend to people. 22 seasons, over 1,000 episodes, and look, I've already lost you. You've already started turning away. I get asked a lot, what Precure season should I start with? And it's such a hard question to answer because they're all so different. There are Precure seasons about pets, about space, about healing the world and nature. One year we're forgiving and accepting former versions of ourselves for our faults and weaknesses. The next year we're fighting monsters with the power of whipped cream and frosting. And yet they still all qualify as Precure. Every season of Precure has a different cast of characters, a different theme that guides the story, the conflicts, the designs, and different motifs that are just the cherry on top of this magical sundae. Precure is actually really easy to get into. All you have to do is simplify your approach. And might I give you the best way to do that with my simple method? Cure. C-U-R-E. C is for chaotic. These seasons are super silly, maybe episodic, but trust, there's never a dull moment. You never quite know what you're going to get out of these seasons, but they make for an entertaining ride nonetheless. U is for user-friendly. While it's encouraged to start with any season that piques your interest, these are the seasons I find to be easiest to get into if you're just starting out. They show you what Precure is capable of, are fun, engaging, and I think you'll walk out of them with a smile. R is for revolutionary. Being a 2-decade-old franchise is no easy feat, but it means that Precure has celebrated, evolved, and changed its formula over the years to stay fresh. These are the seasons I believe illustrate that epic evolution in the best way possible. And E is for enchanting. Every now and then, a show comes along and tugs at your heartstrings when you were least expecting it. For me, these seasons have the most beautiful stories that enchanted me in ways I just cannot forget. Now don't get me wrong, this is not an all-encompassing official guide to Precure. Several seasons, if not all of them, have qualities that could put them into any of these 4 categories, and no category is lesser than the other. But I want to reduce your overwhelm of this 22-season franchise as much as possible, which is why my Cure method was born. Now stop! Before we go any further, there's something important you must know. Another reason I felt I couldn't answer the how do I start watching Precure question properly, I haven't seen every season. That's right, 7 seasons remain on my Precure watch list. And that's why I've enlisted the help of my friends here today. Precure enthusiasts, Precure experts in my eyes. They know their stuff, and they will be able to answer questions and fill in the gaps for the seasons I haven't seen. So please welcome them warmly, forget every preconceived notion you may have of this series, because together, we are going to find the perfect Precure for you. And I think things are about to get a little bit chaotic. C is for chaotic. When I think of the most batshit unhinged Precure season, there is only one that comes to my mind. Tropical Rouge Precure aired in 2021, featuring Manatsu, a girl who just moved into Aozora City and is absolutely brimming with energy, excitement, and the motivation to take on any obstacle. But when she meets a mysterious girl in the ocean, she quickly learns that a world beyond her reach is being stripped of its own motivation. The Grand Ocean, a land underwater home to mermaids and marine life, is suffering under the seized control of the Witch of Delays, and it's up to the legendary warriors known as Precure to restore life and motivation to the Grand Ocean and protect the human world from the same fate. It might sound silly to you. Honestly, it is quite silly now that I'm saying it out loud. But Tropical Rouge can't be described as anything other than an insanely fun season. Manatsu is a hyperactive, lovable goofball, and the mysterious girl in the ocean, a haughty mermaid named Laura, bounces off of her energy so well that they're both absolute scene stealers no matter what episode they're in. But hey, not too much on my girls Sango, Minori, and Asuka now. Sango's cute nature and adorable design made her an early favorite for me. Minori's love of books, quiet and deadpan approach, and how that affects her social life makes her one of the most unique cures ever. And Asuka's cool big sister demeanor with a tragic tennis club love affair keeps the Tropical Rouge story interesting at every turn. I'll still always say that Sango should have gotten more shine, but maybe you'll be like me and become a sucker for the seemingly pompous Laura who can't help but love and care for the friends she's made. Regardless of who becomes your favorite, Tropical Rouge's island vibe, ridiculous comedic episodes, and lessons on doing what's most important to you make this season a must-watch. I want Kero to be seen, but he's also my backrest. Chaos can truly be found anywhere for those with eyes to see in Precure. But with the episodic yet turbulent nature of these next two series, I couldn't see them landing in any other category. Yes, Precure 5 and Yes, Precure 5 Go-Go are the 4th and 5th entries in the Precure franchise, airing in 2007 and 2008. Following Nozomi, a lovable girl failure who meets a small fairy named Coco, learns his tragic story and resolves to help restore his home world, she teams up with 4 of her fellow classmates to stop the evil Nightmare Corp from destroying people's hopes and wishes once and for all. These seasons are both very early Precure, and you'll have to watch a more recent season to really understand what that means, but early does not mean bad. And Yes 5 seasons are so enjoyable and thrive in how they display the strong friendships between the girls, allow room for character growth of side characters and villains, and begin to develop the classic formula Precure is known for today. These things, along with the era that it aired in, make the Yes 5 seasons among the most, if not the most recognizable and popular seasons in Japan. Even so, you must tread lightly, because there are some infamous gripes when it comes to Yes 5. Romance is something that the Precure creators at Toei Animation hadn't really tackled yet by this point, but love was given a shot in Yes 5 with the pairing of Nozomi and Coco, the squirrel. Okay, I mean, it's really not that bad. Besides, he looks pretty good in his human form, and oh, he's her teacher. Yeah, it's hard to ignore this one, folks. The Nozomi Coco stuff is more prominent in Yes 5 rather than Yes 5 Go-Go, I'd say, but I still remember having a hard time getting through their scenes during my viewings of these seasons. Yes 5 also has a threequel season that aired in 2023, following the characters as full-blown ladies known as Precure Full Bloom, Power of Hope, Precure Full Bloom. Yes, long ass title. And sorry to spoil, but these two become as official can get in this season, and it's like, what do you even do at this point? I think the thing that irks me the most lately is that the conversations about this romance, while totally valid, completely drown out the good things Yes 5 has to offer. Like, the bond between these girls is so strong in this season, stronger than in some other Precure I've seen. Bean's friendship with Nozomi, Urara's self-isolation which developed as a result of her working towards a career in entertainment, dissipating when she joins this group of girls, Komachi and Karen, 2 students who confide in each other but become better at trusting others through meeting Nozomi, and of course Kurumi, whose adoration for Karen is undeniable. These are some solid characters. I especially love Urara and Karen, but they're all slays. Maybe Yes 5 and Yes 5 Go-Go aren't the seasons you reach for first, or maybe they are. But because of their formulaic importance to the franchise, their strong friendships, and their notoriety, I'd recommend you watch them. You know, Yes 5 Go-Go actually marked the 5th year of Precure airing. And though there weren't any huge anniversary celebrations at the time, who would have thought that the franchise would go on for another 5 years, marking their 10th anniversary? I'm sure at that point, not even the creators believed it would make it that far. We'll discuss why that is later, but 2014 was the 10th year, 11th season of Precure, and it was celebrated with a little show known as Happiness Charge. But what would you know? I haven't seen it. But you know who has seen it? My friend Leo, also known as Magical Cinnamon. Leo has been making Precure videos and Magical Girl content for 8 years. He's always on top of the latest Precure episodes, news, and everything in between. So I trust his judgment immensely. And I'm so curious to know, what is Precure's 10th anniversary season actually really like?
Happiness Charge,
Yay.
which I'm also quite curious about, especially because like I just happened
No one
to be
likes Happiness
browsing.
Chart.
I know.
Is that why?
Yes, I was just browsing on Twitter like a couple of hours ago and came across Happiness Charge slander. I was like, oh my god, what is going on in this season? That
I hope you
has people
blocked the
talking about it
person.
like that?
I hope you blocked them. I will never give in. Happiness Charge is the best. I can sum Happiness Charge in one word: mess.
Oh, no.
It is a mess. I have Happiness Charge as one of my favorite seasons, and I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what's going on in that season either. I could not sum up the story for you. Happiness Charge is a story about characters that live in a town, and there's a lot of Precure in that universe, and they're fighting against a specific evil. They're trying to get a wish done. They're trying to save different worlds. They're trying to save different people, and the Precures are being attacked, and there's so much happening, and there's not really cohesion. It's just that.
Things are just happening.
Things are happening. The characters are reacting to it and reacting a lot to it. There's God in the middle of it, and God does nothing. There's the cures that do a lot, and they do a lot. There is form changes. There is cards that change themselves as humans as well. And you can become a doctor. You can become a ninja. You can become anything you want. That's just Happiness Charge for you. They're not trying to send you a message. They're just trying to sell you cards.
Oh.
There's so many different concepts in the season, and I feel like it's one of those seasons that you can look at it and think, well, what is the concept of this season? Because, you know, seasons, oh, there's this season about music, there's this season about food,
Exactly.
there's this season about sweets. What is Happiness Charge about?
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say.
It's about everything and nothing at the same time. I cannot put it into words. We start the season with 2 cures, which are Cure Fortune and Cure Princess. The villains they already are attacking, and Precures are a thing. We have a very colorful cast of characters. All the cures in this season, they have a huge personality. There isn't a character that you will look and think, well, she is a little bit more serious than the others. She will take the mission more seriously, or they're all a little crazy. For you to like Happiness Charge, you need to have a lot of energy to follow the season. We do have a very solid duo as well. Cure Lovely and Cure Princess, or Megumi and Hime, their friendship is one of the highlights of Happiness Charge for sure. One of the things that Happiness Charge does is letting the characters make mistakes. Hime is a character that makes a lot of mistakes, and Megumi is right there by her side to help her, to bring her back. And there's a lot of that in Happiness Charge.
I like that. It's nice to hear. Through the craziness, there's cohesion.
I would not use that word. I would not use that word. That is a hard word for Happiness Charge, I feel like. But some of the stories are cohesive. Some of the stories are.
Precure marked its 10th anniversary. How exactly did they celebrate the 10th anniversary with Happiness Charge?
At that point, we had 30-something cures. They got every single voice actor to voice a line saying congratulations for the 10th anniversary of Precure at the start of every episode. It was fun because we never knew who to expect, which cure would appear. They created a new animation for each cure. That was a very cool celebration. I have one favorite Precure episode of all time, and it's from Happiness Charge Precure, episode 10. In this episode, there is a song from a cure. She sings this song while she's battling. It's a song about rice, about loving rice. How can you not love this? In episode 10, everyone in town is obsessed about this song, and everyone is singing this song. The core in school is singing this song. Why are they singing? Why is everyone singing this song? I love this episode episode. It's so funny. The comedic timing, it's perfect. And Happiness Charge, while I do adore the season, it's one of my favorites, it has a lot of problems. I have to mention this. One of the main characters, who is Blue, he's a god. The fact is that he's an older man. He's like 300 years old. I don't know. But like he's old. There is a certain plot with him that I think was very distasteful. Nothing actually happens, but I think there are Precure seasons that have dealt with this topic in a way better manner. I'm not talking about Precure 5. Another thing that I feel like Happiness Charge fumbled is with the international cures. When you're trying to do and represent other cultures, you have to have certain sensibilities, showcasing cultural things. I feel like Happiness Charge did not have it. I love the concept of the international cures, but it could have been so much better. It should have made a better research.
You've told me so much that I had no idea about. I don't know what I thought it was gonna fall under.
This is very clear to me. Happiness Charge is chaotic. Like, it is one of the most chaotic seasons of Precure. It's still a narrative about the characters, about their feelings, but they do those crazy stuff. That is the power of Happiness Charge Precure.
But what's that? Does anyone smell something cooking? I do. And let's hope it's delicious. Delicious Party Precure aired in 2022 and follows Yui, a girl who is a huge foodie and loves the way meals can bring people together. She's heavily influenced by her late grandmother and how her words and recipes put smiles on people's faces, and now that I'm saying it out loud, this all sounds oddly familiar. Anyway, the season also features Kokone, who is terribly introverted but learns how to communicate more after befriending Yui, and Ran, a talkative girly who I believe is the first Cure influencer ever. I kind of love it. But that's not all. There's Takumi, who's Yui's aloof childhood friend who's hiding a thing or two from her. There's Rosemary, best non-binary fellow and magical person who came from the Cook Kingdom to help assist the Precure in rescuing the Recipe Pea. Yes, real name. There's Imani, the student council president who seems to be having Bundaru-induced memory loss issues. Not to mention the entertaining fairies and Takumi's dad and Amani's twin brothers, but also Fennel and Ginger and the entire Bundaru gang. And are you noticing a trend here? Delicious Party is chock full of major characters, minor characters, everything in between. And don't get me wrong, I love a minor character moment, but I'd also say that this makes the season feel a bit crowded. Our heroines still get shine of their own. Yui not until the very last arc, really. But the amount of main story that focuses on side characters, like the cook fighters and their relationships with each other and how that impacts the season is, well, that is the season. But regardless, this season has great moments. Like when our heroines and heroes enjoy a nice dinner and dance together at Kokone's parents' restaurant, and when Yui meets a princess who looks exactly like her and we have a bit of a parent trap moment. But the pacing, among other things I just mentioned, makes this season feel like an anomaly to me. One that's enjoyable, but odd to look back on in retrospect. But hey, maybe it's a different experience binging it all in one go. I'd say it's a good watch, but maybe not suitable as your first Precure watch. No. Your first Precure watch should maybe come from this category. U is for user-friendly. This Precure season is so user-friendly that it was the first Precure season to ever receive a mildly questionable English dub. That's right, we're going to Smile Town, baby. Smile Precure aired back in 2012 and starred 5 heroines famously known as Cure Happy, Sunny, Peace, Smart, Beauty. And if the theming looks familiar, don't worry, you're not going crazy. It's because Smile Precure and the S5 series share share the same character designer. Smile's designs being a lot brighter, glossier even. And these rainbow girls and their bright, energetic concept were no accident. Hardly a year before it, the 2011 Japan earthquake and tsunami devastated much of the region, with a new generation of children now dealing with complicated things like loss and grief. Toei Animation sought to create a Precure season that would cheer its nation's children up. And Smile Precure is a whole lot of that. It's silly, quirky, and there's never really a dull moment here. Miyuki is a bubbly, klutzy leader who loves fairy tales. Akane is a sporty, never back down kind of girl. Yayoi is a manga artist working to overcome her anxiety. Nao is a responsible older sister who still has a few fears of her own. And Reika is the brilliant, poised friend who's actually too funny for her own good. Smile is quite episodic in nature. Things seem to always just be happening, and there's plenty of silly gags along the way, but it's done in a way that keeps you entertained rather than overwhelmed. My favorite characters are the yellow and blue one, yet again, but they're anything but copycats of their same color Yes 5 counterparts, and I just adore them and their quirks. Smile is a season that I could comfortably say feels like quintessential Precure. It centers itself around fairy tales, it displays some of the franchise's greatest strengths with its humor, its optimism, and it teaches lessons on how to deal with the tough situations you encounter in life. How it's okay and necessary to cry, but it's even more important to get back up. I mean, hey, you can do whatever you want, but if Smile isn't in the upper echelon of seasons you watch first, you might be missing out. We've been talking a lot of throwbacks so far, so I want to talk a season that is so recent, I remember it airing like it was only 3 months ago. Yeah, I think Wonderful Precure is a fine season for the new and potential Precure fan. Maybe a few Precure fan watchers would argue with me on that, but this was a really cute and enjoyable season. Iroha is just a girl from Animal Town who loves animals and loves spending time with her dog Komugi. Komugi is just a dog who loves walks, playing, and spending time with her best friend Iroha. But what happens when a mutated animal threatens the safety of their home and Komugi's beloved owner? Yeah, she turns into a Precure to protect her. The dog becomes a Precure, and it's fantastic. Komugi is just as goofy, eager to please, and adorable as a human attending school with Iroha as she is as a dog. But to all my cat people, don't think you've been forgotten. The insanely relatable Mayu and her relationship with her cat, Yuki, is just as vital to the development of the season. Yuki's low-key, standoffish demeanor is perfect, especially when she gets paired up with Komugi. Who says cats and dogs can't get along? Wonderful Precure leans into its theme of the relationship between humans and animals so heavily that it's synonymous with the season itself. How can people and animals coexist if they don't understand each other? And is there enough room on this planet for all of us to share the same space? It handles topics like these, surprisingly well. And stop right there, because I know you're thinking it. And yes, this season does deal with the topic of pet death, and in the most beautiful, heart-aching way possible. Even just speaking on it now is making me realize how solid of a season Wonderful Precure is. There is no question or concept it leaves unanswered or underdeveloped. Heck, it even has the first depiction of a solid, ongoing romantic relationship in the franchise, and they even knocked that out of the park. Wonderful is unique. Unique enough to land in a few other categories in my diagram as well. But I highly recommend you watch it sooner rather than later, because it really displays what the Precure franchise is capable of. Speaking of what this franchise is capable of, Precure has come a long way since its humble beginnings in 2004. And for someone who wants to see that growth, it might be ideal to start at the very beginning with Futariwa Pretty Cure and its follow-up sequel, Max Heart, and work your way to present-day Precure. I talked to my friend and content creator, noblest tea, an artist, designer, dedicated magical girl collector, and up-to-date Precure episode reviewer, to learn what I have missed out on by not starting from the beginning, and if Precure's first 2 seasons are ideal for a Precure beginner.
Can you tell me a little bit about Futariwa?
So, as our very first season, we have 2 forces, good and evil, that are aliens that end up landing on Earth and causing all sorts of chaos. We have 2 normal girls who are as opposite as it comes. We have our very sporty girl and we have our very smart girl, who both end up in their own unique way discovering these aliens who are masquerading for the moment as little compacts, little like phones. They're taken to an amusement park. They're like, oh no, the bad aliens are here and they're going to destroy the world and you got to stop them. These 2 have this chance meeting where they ultimately are forced to work together and defeat these aliens, and over the course of both Futariwa and Max Heart deal with these evil dark forces from space who want to take over the world. And there's not too much more nuance than that. It's just very like light versus dark, good versus evil for our very first Precure season.
How would you describe Nagisa and Honoka? Do you feel like they were well established in their personalities?
You explore this cast of characters very thoroughly with nearly 100 episodes that we dive into this series. I do think the benefit for both Futariwa and Max Heart with its entirely tiny cast is that you really get to see the characters with each other and how they get to know and like cooperate. The series makes it very clear from the get-go that somebody like Nagisa and Honoka would never like really hang out with each other. They wouldn't necessarily get along, but because of the circumstances, they've been forced to be with each other, and going from being like, oh, it's weird that we're together, to like a very close-knit, very solid team.
I'll always remember that one episode where they fought.
Futariwa is not afraid to throw punches when it comes to like emotional plot lines. I would say for what the new seasons are like nicer, Futariwa brings the drama. The villains are really interesting for both Futariwa and Max Heart. They set the blueprint for the way villains are now. For the original designs for villains in Precure, especially for like the first 4 or 5 seasons, they have harsh lines, they're very pointy, they're tall and very intimidating. The newer villains are much rounder and goofier.
One that comes to mind when I think of goofy villains is Tropical Rouge.
That was on the mind. I was like, yes. Tropical Rouge has like the roundest, goofiest, like they are night and day to the Futariwa villains.
Being the first season, the designs are very, you might say they were very black and white. What are your thoughts on the outfits?
I watched it vaguely when it aired compared to all the anime that it was airing around. I was like, oh, this is like not like other girls. Precure comes in here with its black and its white with only a little bit of colorful highlights.
I've never thought about it in like relation to other things going on at that time. Just even on the outside, it must have looked really different.
It was so different. I think you're really going to see the characters connect very well with each other. I do think the downside to having the duo, as many people will have a little bit more frustration in going into Max Heart, is that you do see them a lot, and sometimes you're like, I would like something a little bit different. Maybe I want to see more, which is one of the reasons why Max Heart's great in adding Hikari, just because it shakes up the dynamic a little bit.
This is the first time that Precure adds another person. Do you think that this was like the start of something?
I absolutely think that Shiny Luminous has been a huge blueprint for how they've handled mid-seasons for a strong amount of time. She's a new character. She has her own abilities, own transformation, does different things, which is something that has always been interesting depending on the season, how they've handled their mid-seasons.
You know, I have the 4 categories. I'm actually curious what you're gonna put these into and if they're gonna be in the same one.
I feel like it'd be kind of weird if I didn't say they were user-friendly because it's the beginning of the franchise. Like, where else would we put the start? In terms of like, if you're gonna watch it in order, which you don't have to by any means, but if you kind of want to see like the historical evolution of this franchise and how they've decided to change things, how they started, I definitely would say Futariwa is a good starting point. It could be potentially like a little revolutionary for the first watch because the season's a bit meaner than modern shows, but I think there's also some value in seeing how series handled that in the past and how like they've improved. They don't say that they maybe not handled topics well in the past. I think they just do newer seasons where they're like, we're gonna address the exact same topic but show you that we write it way better.
The Precure franchise may have debuted with a very sharp, angled, and sleek look that made it different from its peers at the time, but this season could not be further from that. Kira Kira Precure à la mode was the 14th season of Precure, airing in 2017, with an overarching theme of animals, baking, and most importantly, sweets. A season that looks like Kira Kira is a far cry from Precure's initial aesthetic, but it perfectly exemplifies the variety that the franchise has become known for. Ichika's just a girl who loves sweets and loves baking, though she's not very good at it. Regardless, she wants to put all of her feelings into every dessert she makes. But when strange monsters start appearing to steal those sparkling feelings known as Kira Kiraru from every dessert in town, only the legendary patissiers known as the Precure can stop them. And if that doesn't sound like cinema to you, then I don't know what will. This season is so much fun. You have the main characters creating desserts of their own that they identify with, they're helping to run the Kira Kira patisserie in their spare time, but they're also trying to find themselves. Imani isn't just a shy girl, she's an individual who's learning to overcome past social trauma and trust her new friends with similar interests. Aoi is desperately trying to be herself despite her refined family upbringing. Yukari has lost interest in her daily life, but finds out her days can get brighter and more enjoyable after meeting Ichika and someone else. And Akira is an amazing older sister to her sickly sibling, but is still finding ways to have fun when hanging out with the other Cures. Okay, admittedly, Akira could have been a little more fleshed out, but I still love her. In watching, you'll find that the villains are super memorable, and you might even come up with some opinions of your own when it comes to how their fates were handled. I look forward to your thoughts. But I believe Kira Kira is a great season to start with. It shows you Precure's good sides, its variety, and its ability to have fun, all in one. I hope this section has given you a few ideas for what might be really solid Precure seasons to start off with. But I have one more entry. Well, more like a mini entry because it's nowhere near finished. There's really no easier way to start watching Precure than to follow it week by week with the season that's currently airing. And what do you know, that season is none other than You and Idol Precure. At the time of filming this, there are currently only 11 episodes and it's streaming right on Crunchyroll. Precure has had idol characters, actresses, and models in the past, but this is their first take on a completely idol-themed season. And in my opinion, it's been so much fun so far. My favorite character is Kokoro. Purple represent. But you may feel differently because Uta and Nana are both just as entertaining. And I'm excited to see where this season goes. Based on what we have so far, I'm thinking we have a chaotic one on our hands. But only time will tell what kind of mark it'll make on Precure as a whole. Because some seasons more than others have completely changed the history, trajectory, and very fabric of the franchise. And these seasons I like to call revolutionary. R is for revolutionary. Would you like a little Precure history lesson? This whole video might be a history lesson for you, but there are plenty of legends and production tales, both true and false, among a series that has been going on for 2 decades. But among my favorite confirmed tales is the time Precure almost ended its run entirely. Though the series created a successful foundation in Yes Precure 5, it saw a weakening in its formula with the decline of sales of Yes Precure 5 Go Go. The concept of sequel Precure seasons was not working anymore. The next year, they scrapped this for something a little more fresh. Fresh Precure was the 6th season, airing in 2009, and was a pivotal moment in the franchise. Atsushi Maekawa, the person in charge of writing Fresh, expressed that he was faced with a unique amount of pressure when taking on the role of screenwriter. Fresh was a new experimental work. If Fresh had failed, the series would have ended there. If it was a success, it would have continued forever, like a Sentai series. That was the high hurdle. That was a lot of weight to put on the shoulders of these creators, but boy, did they deliver. Fresh showcased seemingly simpler designs but with older looking characters. Rather than being more episodic, it was mostly story driven, which was especially the case with the introduction of a variable into the formula that Precure has become so known for, the mid-season cure. Ise is simply an employee Miki, working under the evil group of the season, a pawn with an unwavering loyalty to her leader. But when she meets Love, the pink leader of the season, with her unabashed affection and pure desire to be Issa's friend, she begins to question all of which she knows. And I'll leave it at that. Fresh is such a good season. The main three girls are childhood friends, and it shows in their relationships with each other and how they handle learning that love has become a precure. Miki is this refined and pretty popular girl, while Inori, or Buki, is the original Christian horse girl. Watching them follow their dream of building a dance team and performing in front of a huge audience is so wholesome and such a driver for the story, but the characters they meet along the way make it even better. Fresh has surprisingly good humor, major and minor characters that you can really connect with, my favorite Precure villain ever, the introduction of Precure's CGI dance sequences, and one of the longest transformation sequences of the franchise. It may look unassuming on the outside, but there's no doubt about it, Fresh was a game changer for Precure. Picture this, it's the beginning of 2018. The first Black Panther movie is coming out in a few weeks. You're in the car having to listen to Shape of You and Despacito for the billionth time. Life is simple, and Precure is celebrating its 15th anniversary with a season called Hugto Precure. And if you're thinking, Imani, 2018 is only 14 years from 2004. Isn't it the 14th anniversary? You're going to have to take it up with Toei Animation. I don't have an answer for you. In any case, it's the 15th season, which is enough cause for celebration. And how wise it was to celebrate this with a more introspective season. Hugto Precure is all about the future. What do you want to be? Who do you want to become when you're older? A doctor, a figure skater, a rock star, a marine biologist? You can be anything. And don't worry if you falter or fail, because Miss Nono Hana is there cheering for you. But of course, for every person looking forward to the future, there is an evil organization trying to stop it from happening altogether. And that's what our cures are here to protect, the power of tomorrow, everyone's shining future. Honestly, in retrospect, this was a bit of an ambitious concept for a Precure to tackle, and I think that becomes clear in the way some of the episodes are handled. But it does mean that Hugto is a more story-driven season, where you want to see if Homare ever overcomes her fear of high jumps and figure skating, or if Saya will have the nerve to tell her mother what she truly wants to be when she grows up. Oh, and don't think the creators forgot that this is an anniversary season, where Leo told us that the 10th anniversary was celebrated with every cure introducing the start of the episode. Hugto Precure decided to go all Avengers on us. The middle of this season gives us several epic battle moments and cameo appearances by all previous 50 cures by this point, literally endgame who. I won't lie, it's quite a bit of fan pandering, but it's a cute and special celebration of the franchise, which is why I would not suggest Hugto being the first Precure season you watch. Don't worry, it's not like you have to watch every season before it. I sure didn't. But you might want to watch a few more earlier seasons in order to actually care about these cameos. Hugto Precure is huge. It's fun. It's ambitious. It has one of my favorite cures ever in it. It is revolutionary. Game changers, pivotal moments, anniversary celebrations. I had a pretty solid idea of what Precure seasons would end up in revolutionary before I even started this project. But I would have never, ever guessed that this season would be considered an impactful season if I hadn't spoken to Ayu of the Sparkle Side Chats with Magical Girl Ayu podcast. Doki Doki Precure aired in 2013 as the 10th entry in the franchise and has become infamous for many things.
I'm curious, what you have heard.
I've heard about Cure Ace. I know people were upset about that Cure Ace seemingly came out of nowhere, that Mana is like a Mary Sue type of character. I've just got the vibe that it's not that good. I guess in the writing, people have a lot of strong thoughts on Doki Doki.
Ayu knows her stuff. Not only is she an avid magical girl enthusiast and scholar, she runs a podcast dedicated to talking about different series within the genre worldwide. I trust her judgment.
For me, Doki Doki Precure is not just the platonic ideal of Precure. I think it's one of the strongest magical girl shows of all time. And I'm saying that as a Splash Star
Ooh.
lover, I think as an overall representation of the genre, Doki Doki is like even better. I have a personal like conspiracy theory, putting on my little tinfoil hat here. This is the 10th season. I do think this was actually meant to be an anniversary season originally. In terms of the writing and like the themes and the ways that they play with the expectations of the audience, they did anger a lot of fans. I think that's fun and good. I think it's good to surprise people, and I think that people who were mad that they got surprised. Because this is a season that I very happily rewatched with my own spouse. They went to Japanese sites about which season is the best and found this kept getting ranked at the top. So the Japanese fandom is a very different opinion of Doki Doki Precure. This season, we have some characters who knew each other from childhood, which is something that happens in Fresh for the first time. The completely new thing of Cure Sword being from the other world, but being a cure. You got the classic baby character, just a whole lot of other things that are just like super fun that feel like references to the past. We also have the fun of having an idol in the season. The villain that everyone wants to become a Precure at this point. They see Regina and they think, oh, she's gonna have a plot line just like Pure Passion, which wasn't the case and everyone was mad about it. But I think that's good. I think it's really good to play with that. But for people, so many people to like just see this and just like give up on the rest of the season is so interesting. It is definitely the Mana Ida show, and like she has like very interesting different relationships with each of the other cures, and it is definitely about her relationship with all of them that helps bring the team together. There are just like all these other little things that play into different tropes from past Magical Girl series. It's just like so cute and fun. This is a season where the fairies can become human, so you have fun with that. The villains are themed after the 7 sins, but we don't see all 7, which is interesting. There is a constant kind of back and forth of selfishness versus selflessness with the themes and the characters and their interactions, but it is a really exciting, fun story of interpersonal relationships that reflects the overall like plot of good versus evil.
Doki Doki as a whole, what do you think is misunderstood about it?
There is this misunderstanding that it's not a good season. There's like a huge piece of lore that I cannot drop in this description that is like a really interesting thing that ties everything together so well that like it's just like, oh my god, I can't believe the writing of this season.
Dang.
You know, like when there's a story that has a twist that like makes you go want to rewatch everything from the beginning, it's one of those. There's so many other good episodes that focus on individual characters. Mana being the student council president, she's like, you know, always trying to do everything and like take care of everyone. Like she falls ill because of it, then it becomes a case of like everyone else trying to basically tell all the other kids like, hey, you gotta stop asking the student council president to do everything, because all the characters are so strong in this team, and like even like the other characters around them, that like there's just so many good episodes. In general, it doesn't matter what it is. If someone is telling you that something is a bad piece of media, you don't have to believe them. You can check things out for yourself and make your own, draw your own conclusions. You know, there's never going to be a piece of media that everyone loves, but it's up to you as an individual to decide whether or not, oh my god, there's an ambulance coming. Are you kidding me? Yeah. It's up to the individual to like decide for themselves.
Well, now I have no idea. I was like, oh, I hear so much about it. It's probably chaotic, isn't it? In your opinion, which one is it more of?
For me, this season is revolutionary. If I'm going to choose from one of these, yes. It does a lot of stuff to, again, play with not just Precure, but with the genre in general and your expectations. It is undeniable that a lot of things that they did for the first time in this season were a reflection of the past of Precure, a reflection of the genre. Some of the things that happened have never happened again. So it's really fascinating to look back on the season that way. Yeah, it's just like, I feel like it's just a fun time. It's just like a platonic ideal of magical girls.
The 22nd season being the one that's currently airing means that we just celebrated Precure's 20th anniversary very recently. And boy, was it a celebration. 20 years in, and Precure had created a formula that we became accustomed to. A pink main character, a team of 2 to 5 middle school age girls. Nothing wrong with these things, it was just the norm. Until the reveal of Hirogaru Sky Precure. You were getting comfortable with pink leaders? Well, think fast. Here's our first blue lead cure, Cure Sky. Middle and high schoolers, we're throwing in an 18-year-old graduated adult with a job named Agaha. Only girls can be Precure? Think again. The first official male Precure is here, and his name is Tsubasa, and they did this all in one season. What better way to celebrate the growth and evolution of Precure through the years than to do the things they've never done before? And what's even better, it works. Sora's a spunky girl from Skyland who's just itching to be a hero. On paper, she's the best person for the Precure job, but she still has her own fears to overcome. Mashido's just a normal human girl from Sorashiro City who lacks confidence but has the heart to open up to others. When these two meet, it's like two puzzle pieces who have been looking for their perfect match. They complement each other's weaknesses and strengths. Where Mashido believes she's lacking, Sora's there to tell her that her kindness is her greatest strength of all. Where Sora's scared or hesitant to act, Mashido's there to hold her hand and reassure her that she's more capable than any person she's ever met. You guys, this season is insane. And it's not just them. Tsubasa is such a great addition. A bird from Skyland who so deeply dreams of flying that he has done copious amounts of research on aerodynamics and the history of flight. But he also cares so much about El-chan, the princess of Skyland and just a little baby. And of course, Ageha, who is such a star. She's more than an older sister figure for the team. She uplifts everyone with her bright energy. She's the mood maker who looks after all of them, all while aiming to become a kindergarten teacher in her own right. I could really go on about this season because I loved it so much, but you should really see it for yourself. Hirogaru Sky was a celebratory season that understood the significance of what it was doing, and it didn't back down one bit. Every season of Precure is, or should be, built on the foundation of a good story. The transformations are gorgeous, and the animation during the fights is jaw-dropping a lot of the time. These things keep you coming back for more. But what good would it be if the story, at its core, wasn't strong enough to keep your attention? I think this is important, and ultimately what makes many fans decide whether they enjoyed, connected with, or disliked a season of Precure. We all have our opinions. Maybe a Precure fan watching this has disagreed with some of my sentiments so far, and that's totally fine. But this category, E for Enchanting, is filled with seasons that I just cannot forget. That touched my heart, changed my life, and I'm not joking, and maybe shouldn't be your first watches, but it's best advised that you do not skip these. E is for Enchanting. If you told me 10 years ago that the Precure season about princesses was going to be one of the most critically acclaimed, fan-favorite series in the future, I would have told you to get out of my face. Go Princess Precure was the 12th season, airing in 2015, and the way people talk about it now would make you think that it was the most successful season ever, but that actually couldn't be farther from the case. In fact, it held the position of worst-selling Precure series for 6 years, up until seasons airing during the height of the COVID pandemic took its spot. Of course, we can't entirely gauge audience reception from the sales of toys, but it gives us a window of insight into the climate of the time. Rather gaudy-looking merchandise, general princess fatigue that was in part thanks to the massive success of Disney's Frozen, it's understandable why there was a bit of a slump. And yet, what is it that makes Go Princess Precure so special? Haruno Haruka is a girl who has a simple dream. She wants to be a princess. And one day when she was young, she met a princely boy who encouraged her to chase that dream. And with the promise of a mysterious key he gave to her, she swore she'd never give up that dream. But she's just a normal girl. What does being a princess even mean? Well, through her friendship with the Noble Academy's Student Council President, Minami, and their cool and trendy classmate who's a model, Kirara, and their tenacity and strength to chase their dreams despite the challenges, Haruka understands what being a princess means more and more every day. I genuinely could go on about Go Princess for ages. I am trying so hard to make this section concise enough so that you are curious, but not long enough to literally blab about the whole plot, because it's so worth checking out on your own terms. Haruka shares a spot with an upcoming character for my #1 favorite cures ever. Minami's storyline about discovering her love for marine wildlife and realizing she wants to pursue a different dream was literally life-changing for me. As silly as it sounds, I'm not afraid to say it. Go Princess Precure's stories about chasing your dreams will will stay with me forever. Definitely watch Go Princess Precure. Once upon a time, I was a 13-year-old Ojimaju Doremi fan browsing the interwebs of YouTube until I came across something peculiar. These characters, those faces, those eyes. This looks like Ojimaju Doremi. But it was called something different. It was called Heartcatch Precure. Now, I already knew what Precure was. I'd spent many a day watching AMVs and Magical Girl transformation compilation videos in the late 2000s, but these weren't the Precure characters I'd seen in the past. In fact, Heartcatch had only just started airing. One episode to its name. I thought, well, why not give it a try? It's barely started, and in an odd way, with the same character designer, it'll be like getting my fix of Ojimaju Doremi at the same time. What could become of it? Were my famous last words. Heartcatch Precure aired in 2010 as the 7th season of the franchise, right after the pivotal Fresh. And they did everything but lift their feet off the necks of their viewers. Heartcatch follows the story of its lead cure, Tsubomi, and her first day in a new town at a new school. See, this isn't just an opportunity to meet new people. In fact, she's trying not to think about that because it scares her. This is a chance to become a different version of herself. Someone cool, someone brave and talkative, approachable and popular. This is the chance to become a new Tsubomi. But her plans are kind of thwarted by a classmate named Erika, who won't seem to let her live. However, when she's approached by fairies to become a legendary warrior and rescue that same classmate from losing her heart flower, Tsubomi has to make a split-second decision if she has the courage to become a new, brave version of herself or not. Well, she's not quite there yet. But this is what so much of Heartcatch Precure is about. Can you overcome obstacles and challenges in life and still become the most authentically you version of yourself? And can you keep a pure heart in the process? Erika struggles with jealousy and feelings of inadequacy. Their classmate Itsuki struggles with familial obligations. Their high school friend Yuri struggles with the loss of a friend. Everyone is going through something. And I think that's what Heartcatch tries to tell its viewers. Every episode of this season focuses on a secondary character and the problems they're facing at school, with their families, at work, and it's the Cure's jobs to protect these characters' heart flowers from being stolen by the Desert Apostles. But the Cures also take it upon themselves to hear these stories as their classmates, their friends, and understand what their peers are going through. Now I warn, this format might not be for everyone. I've seen people say that they don't like this kind of focus on side characters.
And I kind of joke to myself that you need to watch Ojimaju Doremi before you watch Heartcatch because that's a big part of both of these series' messages and charm.
It's not at all like delicious parties supporting characters taking the spotlight, but more like looking through the window of each citizen's private lives for a moment. The nosy girls will love this one. I just think it's deeply enjoyable. I love how many goofy, cartoony faces they make. I love how the pink and blue Cure stereotypes were flipped around for this season. It was a big deal at the time. I love its characters and how they find themselves by the end of it. I love Heartcatch so much that I feel too biased in telling people that they should watch it first. In fact, I try not to say that these days. So while it's the highest selling season for a reason, it might not be the season that should ease you into the franchise. But just know that it's there, waiting for you when you're ready.
Try to be normal about Heartcatch Challenge failed.
Once upon a time, Heartcatch Precure finished, like every season does, and the season that aired right after it was called Sweet Precure. Completely centered and themed around music, I thought this was going to be the season for me. Until 10 weeks into its airtime, I dropped it. Yep. That's right. 2011's Sweet Precure is to this day the only Precure season I've ever dropped. But that was 14-year-old me. As an adult, I'm willing to right my wrongs and give it another shot. But let's ask Leo, what exactly did I miss out on by dropping Sweet Precure?
I'm ready to defend Sweet here.
Oh, I can't. I hear the table bangs on the other side.
I'm ready. You dropped Sweet. I'm not gonna forgive that. Sweet Precure is a season about music and also a season about reconciliation, and I think this is a theme about every Precure, which is friendship. Two characters that have been childhood friends, but they strayed apart from each other, and then they are going to meet again when they're a little older, and they are going to become Precures. They are going to have to deal with past issues that they had and work together. They're going to have to rebuild their relationship in a city that is full of music. Everything about Sweet Precure is related to music. So we have a lot of piano, we have people that play different instruments. The villains are trying to steal the music. It's a lot about trying to find friends and trying to reconcile. I like it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Also, another thing about Sweet that is very remarkable, the transformations, because we have a dual transformation in this season, which is melody and rhythm, and it's so pretty. Girl, oh my god, what a beautiful thing that is. I love it.
Do you think that like the main cast was handled well as far as having that duo start?
I feel like the biggest thing that divides the fans of Precure is the duo itself, because Hibiki and Kanade, they have a very specific type of relationship. They bicker a lot and they start the season fighting. Even after they reconnect and their bond is strengthened and they are the strongest duo, no one can set them apart, they do not stop fighting. And that is part of their relationship and part of their dynamic. If this is something that will bother you, you probably won't vibe with this season very much. But if you don't care about it, or if you laugh at certain things, you are not gonna have a problem with it. It feels like this couple that's been married like 30, 40 years, and they know each other so well, and you know how to push their buttons. That's how I kind of like see their relationship. And we do have another villain that I won't specifically talk about, which in my opinion is one of the best villains in Precure. Like the story of this villain, it ties in perfectly with the season. When you get to the ending, when you get to like the last goal of Sweet, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that they're doing this. And it's really, really incredible.
Something about Sweet that stands out to me is its design.
Girl, I am obsessed with the designs of Sweet. Obsessed. Like, I am crazy about the designs. There are so many frills. I suffer for the animators because, oh my god, how can you animate that? The mascots, the fairies, we have lots of fairies in the season. They all look great. The transformation items, the weapons, everything looks super, super, super pretty. It's insane. I can't put into words how much I love the designs of Sweet Precure.
We talked about it a little. Sweet is to this day the only season that I've ever dropped, so to speak. What do you think?
I wish you could see my
I
face
know.
right now. I feel like you have watched the worst part of Sweet Precure, which is already very good. The start is very rough because the relationship between Hibiki and Kanade is very rough. But it gets better.
Okay.
I promise it gets better. One thing you missed and we did not talk about, the queen of Sweet Precure, Hami. Hami.
Oh my god!
The main mascot, the main fairy of the season, is to this day one of my favorite Precure fairies ever. I am obsessed with Hami. Hami is voiced by Kotono Mitsuishi, who is the voice of Sailor Moon in Japan, so like iconic already. If you continue to watch Sweet Precure, you are going to see Hami doing amazing things that you would not believe she would do. She is so important, and you're not gonna miss out on Hami, okay? Because Hami is everything. You can't miss out on Hami. The amount of drama that Sweet Precure has and the amount of character development that you get is insane. You will be taken aback by certain stories and you're gonna be like, I cannot believe I missed this.
C-U-R-E.
I love this.
What category would you put Sweet under?
I think there are certain moments of chaos, but I don't feel like it is up there with other chaotic seasons, so I would not put it into the chaotic category. The U category for me, Sweet works well. Is it revolutionary? For me, it was. But Enchanting, definitely. Oh my god. Every character from the main cast had a beautiful story. So I would say user-friendly and enchanting. I would put them into those two categories. Can I do that? Or do I have to choose one?
you are okay, Leo.
But if I had to choose only one, I would choose enchanting. Because
Okay.
Sweet is very powerful. The stories are very powerful. I love Sweet Precure. Everybody should watch it, and everyone should love Sweet.
I love
Stan
it.
Hummy.
I never would have expected Sweet to be in the enchanting category, but it's nice to know now that there's a lot to look forward to when I finally complete it. It reminds me of another season that kind of hovers over me in a similar way, Healin' Good Precure. This was the 2020 season of Precure. It began airing in February, as it always does, and I think we all know what happens the following month, and the month after that. And the month after that. Basically, what makes Healing Good Precure so ironic is that its theme was totally centered around health and wellness. You can't get any more meta than that. Healing Good is a season I've always been so curious about because while its appearance is pretty simple and unassuming, I've heard it contains some of the most important messages in the Precure franchise.
This is a whole different ballpark. Healing Good is one that I haven't seen a single episode. I have like a couple of Healing Good merchandise things.
Which ones do you have?
Yeah, I have this one Shikishi board.
Aw.
I have Rabarine, like a little
Oh,
Greek
my
king,
queen, Rabarine, one of the best fairies in the franchise. So Healing Good is interesting. We immediately start off with Nodoka, who moves to Tsukuyaka, which is a more countryside, mountain, beachside town because of her health. So she's wanted to move from like really polluted areas to just like an area with more breathable air because she has major health conditions. And very a la Precure, our magical fairies get attacked by a monster, and she comes in and rescues them, and then later meets the classmates Chiyu and Hinata, who all become the cure subsequently. In a magical other world that's debatably the center of the earth, we have this animal kingdom where they are in charge of the health of the planet itself. In another undistinct location that also looks like the center of the earth, they're basically viruses, evil bacteria, viral petulance that exist, whose job is to basically infect the entire planet and leave it to rot. The fairies have come to Earth to find their Precure to help fight against these evil Biogans and save the world from, what's the word for it? Like corrupting, melting, rotting. Good synonym for rotting.
just one of those. By this time, Precure has like established its formula pretty well. It has like the 3 starting cures.
I will say this season focused in on having very rich fairies. They really go all in on making sure the fairies are super developed, and they go really all in on Nodoka being developed. I will say Chiyu, Hinata, and our mid-season don't give as much development, but there is a decent excuse for it. Compared to other seasons, they didn't have to deal with the pandemic, and they didn't lose, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 whole episodes had to get cut altogether. I'm gonna, shout out my guy Leo over here for a quick second. He does a really good video on the anime post-mortem for this season, where the staff talk about what they weren't able to do in this show and what they wish they could have done because of the pandemic, which I think is I think that's almost a necessary thing to watch or a necessary thing to read the article. It puts so much context into anything that you might be like, oh, I kind of wish they did more with this, or I don't know why this character didn't feel as well-rounded as they could have been. And they explain, they're like, this is what we wanted to do with the character, but we ran out of episodes because a global pandemic occurred.
Yeah, man.
But I do think despite the shortcomings they had and how much they had to literally change production because they had to switch from being in an office to working remotely, I think they did an impressive job.
Were the villains pretty solid this season?
The villains are super, super interesting because basically everything they wanted to do with the villains, they did pre-plan before the show, and then they did execute it the way they wanted to. They did say that the villains are exactly the way they're supposed to be, even if people may not be super happy with it. They knew that from the beginning, and then despite people's feelings while the show aired, they're like, no, this was a decision we always made. This was always how it was going to be. And if you guys don't like it, then you just didn't like the story. It's not so much that we changed this last minute for any particular reason. This was always how it was meant to be written. One thing I will say I don't like about this season, which is how box standard it looked. Setting aside the war that people have on the pink, blue, yellow formula.
Yes.
2 seasons over, we have Delicious Party, which has the exact same color makeup. I had a friend in Japan. I was like, hey girl, hey, I need you to buy me some Delicious Party merch. Here's a quick pic of the season. Can you go grab this for me? And she bought me healing good things I already owned because they look too similar. It's harder for this season because the outfits are much more individualistic and they're not like Smile Precure where they're all very uniform.
Right.
So I have a harder time being like, this season has terrible designs versus this one has good, because I'm like, they're way too different from one another. But I also think that this is a season with a theme that's a lot harder to have an aesthetic that is both cutesy and then matches on theme.
Even with its shorter runtime and things that were not as fleshed out as they could have been because of the pandemic, do you still like have a favorite moment?
42, hands down, that's a more like big emotional moment. There's a conflict with a villain that really brings up a strong morality question, but they handled it so insanely well. It meant so much to me. Like, if there's no other reason to watch this season, get to episode 42. One of the best lessons I've seen in Precure to date.
I really wonder which one it could possibly fit under. Chaotic, user-friendly.
I probably would not say chaotic. I would say all of its like all the close cousins to it fit the chaotic category. It's not user-friendly compared to all of the really intense seasons. This was meant to be more of a breath of fresh air. They made it a little bit more lighthearted than they may have meant to initially. If I had to put in a category, I'd probably stick it in Enchanting because I think it does so many like miraculous and wonderful things. But I think Healing Good has one of the strongest rides. It works too because it's not only a healing season and healing the earth, healing animals, and healing injuries, it's healing mentally. I think there's a lot of conversation about mental health. And I think one of my favorite characters, Hinata, she essentially has this whole storyline about her being neurodivergent. They don't ever say it in words, but she is basically like the picturesque example of somebody, at least for me, with ADHD. As somebody who has ADHD, I do think it's mostly just like giving us the good stuff that Precure is supposed to offer, and like what a kid show is supposed to bring to the table. Good lessons, good relationships, good vibes. It does what it needs to do, and I think it does it in a way that's unique enough from just a standard magical girl series.
What season better suits the concept of Enchanting more than the one that is exclusively about magic and witches? But hey, that's not the only thing that makes Maho Tsukai Precure so special. Maho Tsukai Precure, Maho Girls Precure, Witchy Precure, whatever you want to call it, aired in 2016, is actually the most recent Precure season I've watched, and I love it. Sure, it lives up to its name, magic wands, cute witchy uniforms worn in the magic world, inexplicable phenomena galore. It will totally have you immersed in its universe, but that's not what makes me love this season so much. Mirai, a normal human girl with a love of magic. Riko, a magic user in training who struggles a lot but has a hard time admitting it. And of course, you couldn't possibly forget about Mirai's teddy bear come to life, Mofurun. These characters don't just befriend each other, fight Yokubaru together, and leave it at that. They become a family. They support each other's weaknesses. Mirai tries to understand Riko when she's down. Riko supports Mirai when she's struggling in school because she knows she's capable of great things. She's seen her in action in the magic world. And I've been trying so hard to go light on the spoilers for this whole thing, but another character comes in and their familial bond is just insanely solidified. It's a joy to watch. Where Maho Tsukai succeeds in its character relationships, I do believe it struggles in some other areas. If you're looking for some entirely magical world, Harry Potter mystical realness, this might not hit the bar for you. The girls divide their time between the magic world and the no magic world pretty evenly, but it would have been even better if more time was spent in the more compelling and lore-filled magic world. People seem to think that the battle sequences in the season don't quite pack a punch, which I get because it aired right after Go Princess of all seasons. I mean, geez. But I don't know, I like it. I tend to favor the seasons with characters that make me feel a certain way, and with Maho Tsukai having one of the most soul-crushing, sob-inducing finales in the franchise ever, I'm so serious. Yeah, of course, I'm recommending this pain to you. Its popularity was enough to give it a sequel season called Mirai Days, which just finished airing. It focuses on the characters as adults with new storylines. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard good things. But with this, I think it's clear to me Maho Tsukai is a season not to be forgotten. Speaking of forgotten seasons, there is one that tends to be left behind in the mix of Precure conversation, one that often seems to fall between the cracks. And when you look at its outward appearance and compare it to another, more notable season, I think you'll understand why. But that's really not fair to the season in question, Futari wa Precure Splash Star. Sure, it aired in 2006, right after the legend of Cure Black and Cure White, who have become all but the face of the Precure franchise, but Splash Star contains a beauty all of its own, one that I'm dying to learn more about.
I'm excited to hear about Splash Star from you, knowing this is your favorite.
Yes. This starts off a little bit differently from the first season in that this stars Saki Hyuga and Mai Misho. When they think they are meeting for the first time, they realize quickly that they actually have met before in the past. They meet under this really great tree known as the Sky Tree. They meet the fairies Flappy and Choppy, who are from the land of fountains, and they need to help them to restore the lands. There are several of them. Each of them is elementally themed. The villains are also elementally themed. They collect more things and, of course, put them in the special toy that helps them. They're able to, piece by piece, restore these lands. It's just like a very sweet story that has a lot of the goodness that we already knew from the first two seasons as far as like interpersonal connections and things. I think that in general, this season is really strongly themed as far as it comes to the elemental aspect of things. Also just the kind of consistent use of like the power of two throughout the series.
I don't know why I had no idea it was elemental. Right?
Yeah. In Japanese culture, like in a lot of other Asian cultures, we have like 5 elements, right? So it's like all of them are represented in the 5 lands and also in 5 villains. For me, it's like a very, there's a lot of like Japanese theming in particular about it. It's like, as opposed to, for example, how Healing Good is also kind of nature themed, this one is more featuring the concept of Kacho Fugetsu, which is flower, bird, wind, and moon. You can also hear that in the names of the first 2 characters, Saki and Mai. They're flower and bird. That's why they become Cure Bloom and Cure Egret. Yeah, it's about nature. It's about the beauty of nature. It's also about their, of course, beautiful bond, as is classic in Precure.
Oh, that's so cute.
You know, Saki is the sporty one. She plays softball, which I also played when I was younger. And then Mai is an artist, and I'm also an artist. So they're like both super relatable.
Oh, wow. They're like 2 halves within you.
Yeah. When I first watched the show when it was airing, I was very like, why is this show written exactly for me? This is very strange. But then we also have the kind of infamous duo who are more human looking. They are the Kiryu sisters. They disguise themselves as fellow schoolgirls and they go to school with them and they befriend the girls. They're very interesting because they are definitely antagonists, right? And they are trying to be evil, but also they're really good foil for them.
There is a villains turned good guys sort of trope within this season. Do you think that that kind of thing was birthed in Splash Star, so to speak?
Yes, I do. The trope, what we call falling to the light side, is definitely in this season first.
I know that Splash Star was like infamous for looking very similar to the season that came before it, Futari wa. What are your thoughts on any sort of similarities?
No, I mean, yeah, it's obviously like, I think especially when you're looking at the whole scope of what Precure became, it seems very clear that like, oh yeah, they were trying to make very similar designs to the original too. I think this was in part trying to keep the fans, you know, in a way, because like there were just so many other magical girls at the time. But I think despite that, like they're just such distinctly different characters to me that like I don't really think about it so much. I mean, also part of it is I watched Splash Star before I watched the original season. I think there are a lot of small stylistic choices that I really like about this as well. So with this season, because of course Max Heart was so huge, they tried to create something that did have a bit more specific theming to it. And I think that because of that, for a lot of reasons, things were like kind of more concisely done in this season than previous.
I like how you put it because it's not necessarily like they were trying to mimic what was going on with Futariwa and Max Heart, but they were kind of trying to refine it.
Yes, I think so. I just found the writing to be so strong throughout with the theming, with these 2 characters and their relationship. The finale of the season for me is still one of the most satisfying thematically of like steady season. Like everything is always in comparison to Splash Star for me.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, these two girls, like you can, read them as being like totally in love with each other classically. And I'm so glad that Otona Precure was able to help people to realize the goodness of Splash Star. It's definitely like satisfying to be here this whole time and see people finally give them some respect.
Well, C-U-R-E.
It's definitely your mileage may vary situation. For me personally, the Japanese theming to the elements and everything was part of why the season was so strong for me. For that reason, maybe I think for me, it falls under more enchanting than user-friendly. If you're trying to watch it in order, don't, because like you don't have to at this point. But also like if you have the option, you should take a break between watching the original 2 seasons and Splash Star because of the particular need to compare when it shouldn't be compared. It's its own thing.
I think you'd think I'd end this video talking about my favorite season in the franchise, but I did that already. I've already told you about Heart Catch and Go Princess. So then why am I leaving Star Twinkle Precure as the last season I'm recommending to you? Well, honestly, it kind of just ended up this way. But I think this is perfect because Star Twinkle Precure is not only a great season, it's a great example of how far Precure has come and where it's capable of going. Hikaru is just a space-loving, star-hugging doof when a magical fairy and mysterious rocket fall from the sky into her town. Any sane person might be freaked out by this, but not Hikaru. How can she be freaked out when an alien girl is standing right before her? Turns out they're searching for the legendary warriors known as Precure, who can fight the No Traitors, collect the 12 Princess Star Color pens, and stop the universe from being swallowed up by darkness. Of course, Miss Hikaru ends up being the one that fits the bill, but not only does the alien girl named Lala not understand why Hikaru's been chosen, she's not very happy about it. Yes, the first 2 cures of this season get started on the completely wrong foot, and since they're working together now, they have to quickly learn how to come to a common ground with each other, learn how to understand each other. Star Twinkle Precure isn't just about constellations and space, it's about communication, diversity, and accepting people's differences. Heck, Lala literally can't even be understood in her mother tongue without her high-tech communication device translating her every word. And this is only solidified with the introductions of Elena, the first half-Mexican, half-Japanese cure, and the first brown-skinned cure in the franchise, and Madoka, a girl who comes from a family dead set on denying aliens any form of peace or allyship. Certainly an allegory or two on that one, but despite their backgrounds and where they come from, these girls all become friends. They all become Precure, traveling the cosmos together, meeting different species on different planets, learning about what makes the universe so special, and it's so fun. Star Twinkle Precure commits to its space theme, has synth-driven 80s style vaporwave music to boot, and has a season finale so soul-crushing. You will cry even if you see it without context, but of course don't do that. Its appearance is already bright and colorful enough to catch your eye, but beneath all of the glitz and glam, Star Twinkle Precure is truly something special. The Precure franchise started with 2 normal girls becoming superheroes, and by 2025 has featured aliens, mermaids, witches, cats and dogs, fairies, and even boys becoming Precure. Can you tell which one is not like the others? But I think what's becoming clearer each year that Precure airs and spreads its messages, one that rings loud and clear is: Precure is for everyone. The target demographic is young girls in Japan. It always will be. But the little boys who watch it, the preteens who still love it, the teenagers who think they're too cool but still want to check out a few episodes here and there, the adults who remember their favorite season from when they were younger fondly, and the ones who still keep up with it today. There's a little Precure for everyone. This is truly a dynamic, ever-changing, and beautiful series. One that effectively sells many toys, has great action, but isn't given enough credit for the beautiful writing it's able to deliver. And I want nothing more than for others to experience this same love too. So tell me, which Precure will you be watching? I hope that with this video, I'm successfully answering one of the most frequently asked questions I've gotten since I started making videos.
I think I'm literally just going to link this to people when I get asked from now on.
But I genuinely do want to know if there's any season that stuck out to you within this video. If you're planning on starting one, please let me know. Many seasons are now available for streaming on Crunchyroll, which is very cool because back in my day. If you're already a fan of Precure and watching this, tell me what your favorite season is and why. And a huge thank you to my friends Leo, Ayu, and T for helping me with this video. Please support them and their content. I'll have their links down below. They're amazing and are always on top of their stuff. I admire them so much. But that is it for now. I thank you guys for being here, and until next time, I'll see you in my dreams. Bye, friend.